buddy. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Arcane Archive. That's right. We are here today with another incredible episode of Cautionary Chronicles. And oh boy, do we have quite the deliciously salacious selection of stories for you today. We love the alliteration here, Sammy. I mean, that's kind of our whole thing here. We got to get that going. It just whets the appetite. It feels oh so good on the palate, I would say, personally. How are you feeling today, bud? What you think of the stories that we got lined up for our lovely acolytes today?
Well, I think we got some good ones. From what I can tell, a lot of just
Mm.
ah.
Little icky ooh ah. That cringe is gonna be quite
Yeah.
pure today, my friends, I must say. It's looking to be a bit of a rage fest, I think. Just a bit on a number of these that we've chosen today. I know I have some personal kind of experience and feelings. I'm pretty sure Sammy's also gonna have some rather visceral reactions to it. And so it's honestly, we hope that you guys, as always, just enjoy our myriad, our absolute roller coaster of experience and feelings that we have about all of these stories today. But obviously, as always, before you get into it, if you like what we're doing here, please be sure to like and comment down below on the video, subscribe and share the channel. We appreciate all the support that you can offer us. Really, it means the world. Honestly, it can be very helpful for us. Let us know, what you guys think of these stories that we talk about, and engage around with the community. And that's really like what we want to be able to do and kind of start to brew up more with everybody. But with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's just dive right back down into the archive. First story of the day is titled 4E Brings Out Group's Major Flaw by Bargleth, or Bargle the Pug. I assume that was probably meant to be. Uh, Once upon a time, in the year of 2009-ish or so, 4E came out, and we gave it a try. And I had a massive wake-up call from my dysfunctional group. Ooh boy,
So,
already.
so for context, I don't know much about 4E except for the fact that it was like weirdly overly strategic in the worst way.
Um, I have never played 4E myself either, but I have done a decent amount of research on it because just from hearing about it, same thing. And from what I can tell, it wasn't necessarily like it was like overly strategic per se. Like that's one way you could define it, but it was more so just that it was not nearly as like flexible or like what I'm looking for, like mutable as 3.5 was previously to that. Everybody had kind of their set roles they could do, and I think you could like also here or there like multi-class like you always could, but it was like you had every character could choose like a specific class, which was like, or not even just class but like specific like role, right? Each class had like superpowers and stuff like that, and you could do some really dope, crazy, kind of almost superhero-esque things, right? Like you had like the striker class, you had like the controller role, you had like the tank role and all that other kind of stuff, the DP role, whatever it was. Um, but one of the biggest issues was that, combat and everything could just take forever because there were so many things that you had to keep count of and keep track of. Like all of these little bonuses here based off of very maybe like specific circumstances or moments that you had to remember to then apply. You had to always apply it like in a specific way, otherwise the actual math wouldn't necessarily come out correct. And on top of that, enemies could also do these things, and a lot of the time you only had limited resources. Like you could do like these attacks or these abilities that were really cool, but you could do them like once a day, right? And
Oh,
they
awesome.
they they brought those aspects back in 5e as well, but just a little bit more consistently in a more balanced manner, where this is like, yeah, you do this once and you're done for that day. You can't use that ability again. And it was just like, it was, from what I can tell, it was trying to be maybe a little, ironically, a little bit more epic or freeform, but kind of ended up actually going the opposite direction,
Oh,
where it
fun.
just kind of bogged it down and you got real kind of stuck in a lot of more of
So,
the
so
minutia of
basically,
math.
basically everyone was a 5E arcane archer.
Basically, yeah.
where you
It's
just don't really get to do a whole lot.
Yeah, there was that, and just or it just took forever. Like it would take forever for you to get any kind like because one person's turn would be like, okay, I have this, and but I also have this. Like again, think of it like almost like Pathfinder 1E, except obviously not as maybe fine-tuned maybe in that way, because they obviously didn't want to do exactly the same thing as Pathfinder 1E, but it was like, yeah.
Fun.
Not nearly as smooth and buttery as 5e would kind of become. And that's not to say 5e doesn't have its own bumps, but either way. Hey, there you go. That was a little bit of a crash course on 4e. Again, granted, I've never played it myself, and that was a very, very rudimentary summarization of kind of how it goes, and I could have even be wrong about certain things there. But that's the general gist and idea of what I've heard and what I've researched about it. But that is exactly why we're going to see what happens here when OP's group starts 4E for the first time. OP is known as Nate, and he was his group's 3.5E rules lawyer and forever GM back in the day. Nate would always help everyone make their characters and teach them how their class works. He also knew a lot about the class features, so often he could tell them how something works just from his memory alone. Hey, good for you, bud. There's also Bert, a player who turned into the GM, and he wanted to run 4th edition. And Nate was excited to be a player for once, so they were on board. Nate had the 4E Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide and nothing else, so they got to work. Bert runs Kobold Hall, a mini dungeon that Nate thinks was in the DMG. That first room in the dungeon becomes an 8 to 9 hour slog. Holy crap. That's what I'm talking. See, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
The party ended up TPKing 4 times, and Bert did not ever change tactics on the kobolds once. But then you know what? That wasn't even really the real problem. See, another player known as Jack had some kind of an assassin character, right? It was from some sort of web supplement that wasn't part of the initial rules, but, Bert decided to say, okay, sure, and turned to OP and said, yo, teach Jack how to play their class. To which OP says, I don't know how to play the class. I didn't even know it existed until literally 30 seconds ago. I barely know how to play any of this stuff, including my own fighter class. This isn't 3rd edition. I'm learning things alongside everyone else right now. Bert, for some reason, seemed really frustrated by that. And Jack did not understand how any of his class abilities worked and died. Nice. As the Battle of the Bolds raged on, it seemed like no one else knew how their class abilities worked either, and ended up dying fairly quickly. They kept asking me, hey, how does a wizard do X? Or how do I do Y? And I just kept shrugging, saying, I have no idea. Bert would look things up in the book for people, which slowed down the battles even further. I'd suggest, why don't we just improvise using some of the rules from 3.5 that I made? But Bert said no. We were going to do everything by 4E rules. Here's the real clincher, right? Here's the kicker. Here's the rub. Turns out the whole group never learned how anything had worked, even in the previous edition. They, in fact, just ended up relying on me to be the human computer for how things were run. And in my need to keep the pace flowing, well, I just tell them how things worked. You see, I was teaching them. However, the students weren't absorbing the material themselves. And now this was biting the whole group in the ass. And Bert was not a rules lawyer for 4E like I was for 3.5 to make up for it. We never got through the first room of Kobold Hall. Later, in a Facebook group chat, Bert tells everyone how frustrated he was with me not being helpful, and that I was sabotaging the game so we'd go back to playing 3.5. This resulted in an argument that lasted a day, and to summarize my response, I basically said, hey, eat shit and F off. You know what, OP? I feel like that was very well put, honestly. I respect it. I think Bert deserved it at that, because that is some shit, not gonna lie. After Bert's fiasco of a campaign, I tried to run a few more 3.5 games, Bert free, of course, but didn't automatically tell people how their class features worked like in the past. You know what happened? They said they liked the old campaigns better. I, on the other hand, ironically enough, was having a slightly more fun and wasn't mentally exhausted at the end of each night. The game pace slowed to a crawl, of course, and eventually we stopped playing and drifted apart. Good riddance, I say, and good for you, I say, OP. I found better people to game with who actually do care about how their features work. Sometimes a bit too well. End post. So right off the bat, what are your thoughts on this one, Sammy?
All right, so I will say that there's something I do want to put out there, just for myself here. I because I feel bad. I feel bad for this person a lot. I love war games, strategy games, shit like that. So the idea of everything being so long-winded wouldn't necessarily be bad for me.
Sure.
Although this sounds like a slog for a whole other issue of reasons.
I was gonna say
Even
this it's different for war games. Like it gets boring when you're just sitting there not able to do anything because you're just like waiting
and waiting.
40 minutes for your turn, maybe more potentially because everybody keeps having to like, you know, remember their little shit or not know their shit or add some obscure bonus or penalty or something. Like that's a different monster entirely. But sorry, please continue.
It's it just sounds really fucking boring. Um
That was one of 4E's biggest kind of flaws at
yeah,
times
and
was it could get a little bit boring and sluggish.
boring.
It would, you know, some people swear by 4E though. Some people say like I had a great time playing 4E and like
Well,
we were able to like and it's like I think that probably happened maybe because you guys maybe didn't follow or worry too much about the minutia and the like the smaller details maybe, which I think is probably the better way to play. Like
I mean, I hate to be that guy. I think the people who like 4E also just like that style of game.
that's
Because
true
like,
too.
because something I've noticed the longer we've done this, the more I've played tabletop games, is that a lot of people who play like grand strategy tabletop, vis-a-vis Warhammer and things like that, don't fuck with D&D. And the people who play D&D don't fuck with the grand strategy games. There is some crossover, obviously, as there's going to be in any like for anyone who plays tabletop games,
Mhm.
just because it's the concept of bringing something to life on
Yep.
a tabletop or over a video call. Um, but it is far from the same thing at all. And I
Very
think
much
that's
completely
kind
different
of like,
games.
to me at least, the way I look at it, uh, that probably has a lot to do with why 4E wasn't nearly as successful. Um,
I
and
mean,
I mean, it's
they
very evident here
really,
as well.
yeah,
Like,
they really revamped the whole I mean, 4E got its own personal like lore even, like it was a completely
yeah,
separate universe. Like they completely revamped everything. It was supposed to be like in a new venture almost entirely
yeah,
to bring a fresh new
it's
face to
it's like when they
D&D.
reset a comic universe.
Yep, a
Um,
reboot. It was like a reboot.
and you know what? If there are people who enjoy it, great, more power to you. But you're telling me you're going from 3.5 to 4? Because 3.5 and like you'd be better off going backwards or to like Pathfinder
Yes.
2E or
Yes,
Pathfinder.
very much so. Very much
There's a
so.
reason why 3.5 and the people who play 3.5 and the people who play 5, it's like two very distinct
Mm-hmm.
differences. Um, and as someone who recently tried Pathfinder 2E, yeah, there's some things I like and there's some things that I fucking hate.
Yeah,
Because it
same.
just makes it either makes things way too complicated or it makes things like you actually have to like plan out every fucking thing you do
Yeah,
when you're building a
it
character,
takes a lot of
which is
planning and
hard to do
strategy.
when you've never played before.
Yep.
It's why 5e to me is more approachable, but I also understand that like people hate 5e because there's certain things that just aren't built into the system very
Any,
well.
you
And
know,
any downtime, anything actually that you can't do outside of your character sheet is not well built into the system at all whatsoever.
not well.
It is up to
No.
the table, the DM, and the players to figure that shit out themselves. A lot of people have done that themselves, or they've ported over systems from other editions to kind of use as a skeleton.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm.
I will not deny that 5e does leave a lot to be desired for a certain type of player. Um, but 4e, I think, was the bastard child of two systems that do not work well together. And this is
Yeah.
a prime example of someone who probably should have run for the hills as soon as they switched editions. Like I feel
Well,
bad for them because they said they made the best of it and like we're actually enjoying parts of it, but just got shit on by the other people at the
I mean,
time.
I was gonna say it wasn't just that. Like, what I love the most about this is like it's a great way to showcase a seeming like a pretty glaring issue, like you said, major flaw in kind of the group's dynamic and
Yeah.
everything, like in such an organic way, right? Because yeah, there are a lot of times people, and I think you and I both have a very personal like feelings and opinions about this in terms of like people not figuring out how their shit works. When you are playing the game, my friends, my students, my acolytes, my loves, my brothers and sisters from other mothers and dads and daddies, like, yo, you have so little to do in the grand scheme of things. When if you are a player in a game of Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, whatever, you have so little to do really in the grand scheme of things. You can do the only real obligations and responsibilities that you arguably have is to show up on time for the sessions, schedule sessions and accordingly and show up on time and handle your freaking character, your character. And that means, having maybe a decent little backstory or at least some idea of a character, like personality, trait, something, goals, desires, and even better, even more so, the biggest thing is your abilities, how to do things, and
It's the very basics.
how to play the game. That's
Please.
it. That's
Yeah.
all. It's those two things are kind of literally like I never understand. I never understand, Sammy, how people can be like, oh yeah, I want to play this game and I want to do this thing. And like, I have this character who I really love and I want to play. And they don't do any freaking research on their own to learn how their character's abilities work.
Well, Adam, it's a lot of people. We've talked about this so many times. People that want to play because they want to be a part of it, but don't actually want to put in
Exactly.
even
The
the bare
FOMO
minimum.
effect.
And like, look, there are people who I've put up with in that sense, and there are people who I will like. If you show up with a character and you don't know how it works, I'm going to not demean you, but I'm going to call you out and be like, "All right, dude, read your fucking sheet. We're moving on. I'm not doing this." And luckily, in my group, we have some players who like they've been with us for a while, let's say 3 years, but they've only ever played like one or two classes the whole time because
Mhm.
it'd been one character. And they started out at a high level. So like a lot of the level stuff or other, they don't know because how would they? They joined when we were level
I was gonna
12.
say, like,
They're not gonna completely understand everything there is to understand. I
no,
will happily,
100%.
happily help those people out.
And you know what?
Now, if you don't listen to me over and over again, you don't put in any time to get better, then I will call you out. And I'll do it in private. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna
We're
do it in
doing
the
it in
middle of a fucking
public.
session
Yeah.
and I'm gonna skip your turn. And you get to sit there and seethe and read your goddamn character sheet.
You know
And
what?
if you have
And
questions, ask questions. I'm
I was gonna
happy to
say,
answer
there's
questions.
nothing wrong with that at all, right? And to Sammy's point is even there, it's like, everybody this game can be exceedingly expansive, right? And complex at times. Not for the overall grandiose things, but yeah, for some of the more, as I keep saying, the more minute details and things, right? Not everybody's gonna remember how everything works exactly like it should every fucking time, all the time. It's just too much. People are gonna maybe get it wrong or maybe need a refresher every once in a while, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The issue, but that right there though is completely different from a person who doesn't even know after playing a character for like 7 sessions, or hell, let's even say, even this, right? They had time to prep for it, right? You had days to prep for it. And if you're a certain level, right? If you're like level 1 or level 2, and you're telling me like you're a freaking rogue and you don't know how your sneak attack works. You don't know how to apply your sneak attack. You don't know that you have cunning action. You don't know how to do that. You don't know, oh, as a barbarian, you don't know how your rage works. You don't know as a paladin how when you can smite or how your smites work. You don't know, like, it's like you have to have at least a baseline understanding of what makes your class your class. Again, these aren't high level abilities. These aren't like again, to Sammy's point, if you were playing like a high level character and like a class for the first time at a high level, you have a lot to read through. And so it'd be much more understandable to be like, yeah, maybe you didn't quite understand how that works exactly. And to like what Sammy said again, I am also more than happy to be like, yeah, I can help you out with that. That's fine. I like, because Sammy and we like to read through this shit for fun
Yeah.
time. We just read through this stuff because we're like, ooh, this is fun. I like to have this in case, like
It
it's just.
it makes me come off as an asshole when I tell people how their abilities work sometimes. And
Mhm.
but the problem
Sure,
is
yeah.
too is like when you play low level up to higher level, if your abilities kind of build off one another, as some of the classes do, if you don't use them at a low level, you're not going to fully understand how everything fits together at a high level if you start out at that point, unless you played it before. It's very difficult.
It certainly
And
can be.
again, we're just fucking nerdy when it comes to reading a bunch of shit for no reason.
We
I
just,
know more about classes I've never played in a game that than some of the people who I know who are playing those classes. So, yeah. Oops.
what can you say? We like this shit. We like to be good at it as best as we can, and we just find it fun and interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's again, overall, I have never understood how people don't understand like how to use their abilities. Where you're just like, don't you want to be cool? Is that the reason you chose this class? Because you thought their abilities were cool or something? Like, why did you choose this class then? Like, what was the thought process? Because otherwise, yeah, you could have just you could have chosen a completely different class or chosen no class at all. If it was just about role play, we're just like, yeah, I just want my character, I just want to act out, I just want to do role play, I just want to act and do this thing. And it's like, okay, well, role play is great. Don't get me wrong, I love that. That enthusiasm is good because you're ready to get real invested and immersed in the world. That's awesome. But this part here though is also a very big pillar of the game. And you kind of need to have at least a baseline understanding because you also know, at least hopefully, unless the game was specifically advertised as only role play, it's just a straight role play kind of thing, you're going to get into some combat. And so you probably need to know, and not even just combat, there are certain abilities that are also social that you should probably know how to use if you want to be a so-called role player and do it socially. Like, why wouldn't you want to know how your social abilities work?
Yeah.
I can't. It can drive me up a wall. It's one of the like pet peeves where it's just like, why have some self like like assertion, be productive and proactive. Like, don't you want to be able to do this thing here? Why are you relying on just the one guy to tell you how to play the freaking game? Like, how can you be like, the laziness is just awe-inspiring because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's
Yeah.
just being freaking lazy where you're just like, yeah, I don't need to think about anything. I'll just cheat off of my friend, for the test or whatever. He'll just tell me how it works. That's fine. I don't even really have any. And even then, it's okay. Yeah, he'll tell you how it works. Why don't you retain any of that information yourself? If you keep doing it, how do you not just remember? How do
Yeah.
you not like, oh my God. It just boggles my mind. Good golly gee gosh damn, bro. Just learn your class. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to know everybody else's. You don't have to keep track of the enemies or the monsters, but at the very least, just know your shit. And how that applies both in game and out of game. Again, like IRL as well. Know your shit. You don't have to worry too much about anybody else's, but you should have some idea about your own. Holy shit, dude. All right. I think we've said about enough if we can about this one. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next story of the day. Sammy, go ahead and take it away.
Yep, I have player does not engage with the story, but in such a dramatic way, I can't help but to be impressed. I was running a superhero game a few years ago. It was a break from my usual campaign, and I wanted to involve the DM. They played a duo of a shapeshifter and a strongman that we will respectively call Bella and Bitey. You'll soon see why. Bella and Bitey start making their names in the city, fighting supervillains, gang members, and foiling bank robberies, the usual fare. After a battle, they find a burner phone ringing in an alley. Bitey picks it up and answers it. On the other hand,
I think you
there's
meant to say
a
on the other end,
on the
but
other end, yeah, there's a
I
clearly
don't know
modified
why. Yeah.
voice that congratulates them on the job and wants to meet them, offering them some leads for their investigation. Bitey breaks the phone and throws it away. Bella is kind of flabbergasted by this, as it was clearly a quest hook. Bella was the DM after all, but Bitey tells him it was what his character would do, since he doesn't trust people, especially mysterious voices on the phone. Which is
Wow.
fair, but if people in the superhero genre did reasonable things, we wouldn't have comic books.
I was gonna say, is it fair? I don't know if it is. That okay?
After a while, our team fights a new superpowered gang, save a hospital from a villain with time-stopping powers, meet a Commissioner Gordon analog to help them, figuring that it would be a better appreciated quest hook. It was, but I had to find a way to at least wrap up the previous plot line since Bitey wanted to know at least what the deal was. It was supposed well, it was supposed to be a rogue superhero working against the government and make some kind of authority like a super team. Bitey finds another phone, and this time Bella wants to answer, but he insists upon it. Before the voice can even say anything, Bitey goes into a tirade about how he doesn't like being followed and he would crush him the next time he called. He then proceeded to eat the phone, Des-
What are we
describing
doing?
describing very loudly how he was chewing on it and it was making a dull crunching noise. Bella is again surprised at this, since even the player said he wanted to know who he was. Bitey says that this is all a ploy to draw him out in the open if he really wants to talk. And yet, after yet another mission in which they infiltrate a nightclub ran by a clairvoyant, this time our mysterious wannabe backer calls Bitey on his own phone from a private number. The moment he recognizes who it is, Bitey actually breaks his own phone, tears off out the SIM card, and eats it. And that was the end of that plot line and the campaign shortly after due to scheduling issues. I have never seen a plot hook refused so thoroughly. I could have used another way for contacting them, true, but on the other hand, I don't know if Bitey would have tried to eat a messenger or a carrier pigeon. I do not want to know. All right, the most recent I hate when my players eat the call to adventure instead of answering it.
Yeah,
Here's
it
the
was
here's
beautiful.
the thing that pisses me off about this is not necessarily that the character did that. It's the fact that if you're gonna do it,
The
commit. Don't ask after the fact.
the
Well, what was it?
player was like, "Hey, I'm actually
You
really
can't.
interested. Can
Yeah,
you
you can't have your cake and eat it too.
like literally, what do you want? Like what do you want him to do? Like again, don't get me wrong, sure. The
No, get
GM
me wrong.
like they said could have maybe introduced the plot hook a slightly different way rather than the just trying three times with a phone after the first, two times of biting, literally destroying it and eating it or whatever. I
No, get me
just
wrong. Fuck that. That's not like it. The first time it happened should have been the first and last time. Because yes, you know what? If your character really is that distrustful, and that's kind of your vibe with the fact that you're in a super team duo, where it's like you're the muscle and the non-reasonable one, and the other person kind of keeps you from doing things you shouldn't. Like that's a cool idea, and that's kind of what I'm like
decent
getting that
dynamic
vibe,
here.
right? The problem is you can't fucking railroad every encounter. You have to like it's a give and take. That's the whole point. And the fact that as this player is also then
He keeps taking the
he keeps
phone.
doing it and then is has the nerve to be like, well, what was it though? And
Hmm.
it's like, hey bud, I have exactly one answer for you, and it's that.
Yeah.
That's the answer for you. It's getting flipped off in the middle of a session. Um, you don't get to know because you ate the phone. I'm gonna tell everyone else except you, you idiot. um, I it's
I mean, I get it. I feel the GM probably also was being a little bit petty here because he kept like,
no,
why call Bitey's phone of all? What? Just call Bella's phone.
the
Call
first
Bella.
No, the first two times he didn't.
I
He
know,
just lives
no,
in
don't
an
get me
alley.
wrong. The first time I get
No,
it,
I'd
but
like the
again,
commitment of calling his fucking phone again because the player was the one who was like, "Well, I kind of do want to know though." So you gave him another chance,
yeah,
like a good DM does. I think the
yeah.
DM is the good person here.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I don't
I hate
disagree.
this.
The player is 100% the asshole, but it's also just like obviously at that point I would have said for the GM just commit entirely. Like I would even say don't even drop the plot line. Like just keep having phones delivered to Bitey. Like literally just have like a phone
Yeah.
like float down from like a courier parachute or like a drone delivery and it
Every day
falls
you get
into his
home and a
hand.
pigeon drops off another burner cell
Yeah,
phone on your
like yeah,
doorstep.
just a burner cell phone, or just like delivery, and it just gets hit like at their base with like a
It's
ton
just a
of just
box of
it's just
phones
a
ringing
box of
everywhere.
burner cell phones. Just like I would go for broke at that point and say fuck it, because yeah,
Every time you walk
this
past a payphone, it starts
just
ringing.
ringing, yeah, like you know.
You go to someone else's house, their phone starts ringing. Buddy, it's for you.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it just,
for
oh yeah,
you.
I would just
Mhm.
harass the player if that's how they're gonna be, because that's insane to me.
Yeah, honestly, I will say, like again though, there is definitely something to be said about how absolutely ridiculous and stupid Bitey's reactions. Again, it is funny. The
I
Lily
think
is literally
the first one is completely viable. The
yeah.
first time
First
doing it,
one, it's like all
I'll
right,
give you that.
he's a
And
little
everything after
suspicious,
that is a little bit too much, in my opinion.
especially if the player themselves is like, I want to know, and
I
it's like
want to
again,
know.
it's
Do
funny.
you?
Yeah, you literally break the phone and start eating it. That okay, sure, that's comedic, that's funny, but literally, if you like, what is the point? Just take the plot hook. That is one of the biggest things I also don't understand about people sometimes when playing a game, where some people, for some reason, are so dead set on, like, hey, just literally a plot hook. We're trying to play a game right now, right? The point of the game is to go on adventures and have experience and do this thing, right? And you can only do that with the plot hook that the GM has prepared and set up. Or you can try to do an improvised one. But let me spoiler alert: fully improvised plot hooks oftentimes don't go great. They're not the best the vast majority of the time. Sometimes you can have an amazing, completely improvised thing. But take it from me personally, man. I've been in some of those just straight, apparently flying by the seat of your pants, and they can get ugly real fast, real bad, real fast. It is not it like just so players take at least most of the plot hooks that your GM presents. Please. That's also the whole point. It's just that's just baseline respect for the fact that your GM has planned and set up and scheduled and created all of this shit. It's literally just having a baseline of consideration and respect for your GM to just take the fucking plot hook.
Even if you're not like gonna fully invest yourself in the plot hook, at least acknowledge it and maybe like have a group meeting about like talk with your other
I
players.
was gonna say,
And
don't just to make the decision for everybody yourself.
yeah, because if
Like,
enough people at the table are like, this isn't really what I want to be doing with my time, then the DM will understand that, like, okay, that's not the way to hook them. And that's
mm-hmm.
okay, but that's an organic way of doing it that isn't disrespectful. Because not every plot hook is going to be for everyone as well. And something that, in D&D specifically that I really like is the plot hook that really only affects like one member of the party, and then the rest of the party has to either be convinced or some party members might be against it. Maybe it's a newer member of the group and they don't trust them, or there's something weird and finicky about it that they don't like, or legitimately you have people who like have zero sympathy or empathy towards it and are like, actually what we're dealing with is more important. And if you don't agree, like and then there's inter-party conflict. There's other
Yeah,
things you
it
can
can
do.
be some
Um,
intrigue that happens there, you
and
know?
or you can talk to NPCs or other people that you can be like, can you check this out for me, maybe get some more info before we decide we want to sink more time into it. um and then as a DM you have stories that are going on in the background, and maybe depending on the kind of effort or who they send to look at it changes the outcome, changes the info they get. It's not exactly what you want to hear as a DM all the time, but I think it's a place for both the players and the DM to basically decide, where do we want this story to go. But in this case where it's like just one person being like, no, no plot hook, I don't, that's not really fair to everyone else at the table or to the DM. Um, it's just very disrespectful.
It is just very disrespectful. Like pure and simple as that. It's just straight up disrespectful. And again, sure, you did it in a funny way, but like, come on, man. Like, just again, the biggest question always, like, if we're not here to play the game, why are you here? If you're not here to play the game, why are you here? Especially if you are actually interested in the plot line and the plot hook, and you're gonna keep consistently rejecting it because, oh well, my character would do this, like he wouldn't just trust people. Like,
Yeah, it's not worth it
really,
for anyone else to really do anything.
really, like, especially when, again, you could also just be like, okay, if you were as a player really want to hear it and do it, why didn't you just let Bella be the one to answer the phone then? Why did you insist on being the one to answer it? Like the contradiction, the hypocrisy. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. You're just being an asshole at that point. You're just being a straight disrespectful asshole. And there's just no rhyme, reason, or point to it. And there's just you're not gonna get much of any empathy or sympathy from me about that. Like I said, I think the GM should have just like kept screwing with him at that point. Just make it a freaking meme. Make it a reoccurring meme and a joke where now, yeah, you're just cursed with the constant burner phone curse. Endless burner phones for the rest of your fucking life. What a dick. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next story of the day. This one again, we're going a little bit back to one of the ones we did before, where it's like the longer form one that we did that had a really lovely format to it that me and Sammy just oh so appreciated and liked so much. And we found another one that we're going to hit you guys with. So this one we're going to be switching off here, like we did there. Hope you guys enjoy it. This one is titled After Several Years of Campaigning, I Have Officially Hit Burnout by Javier SMP90. TLDR, I've been in an Endless Pathfinder 1.0 campaign for 8 years with a GM who's unfair and runs an extremely challenging game. I am completely burned out and want to leave, but the bonds I share with the players are strong, and I don't want to hurt them. 8 years ago, I started a Pathfinder First Edition campaign with some friends. I didn't know them very well at the time, but we shared similar interests and got along really well. I should mention that this was my first long-term campaign, and while I'd played TTRPGs before, I was still pretty new to it all. Now, I've reached a point where I'm completely drained for several reasons, which I'll outline below. The campaign is absurdly long. It's something that would take literal decades to finish. The GM created a homebrew world borrowing elements from D&D 3.5, and this will become a bit of an issue later on, but I'll get to that down there. But he took aspects, like kind of the setting, the gods, certain aspects, or like rules, essentially. Without diving into too many details, the campaign revolves around a scholar hiring a group of adventurers, our party, to gather clues leading to legendary lost ruins. In these ruins, there may, or may not, who's to say, be one of hundreds of scrolls written by a crazy seer years ago. The seer didn't want them to be found, so he scattered them worldwide and ended up creating tons of fake scrolls as well to make the search even harder. I know, a hat on a hat scenario. In 8 years of playing, we haven't even reached the ruins the scholar is looking for originally, which makes it clear that this is officially an unwinnable campaign. Now, to give credit to the GM, the world is incredibly detailed. He leans heavily into railroading, but the amount of time he's put into the lore, cities, and NPCs is quite frankly ridiculously impressive. Like, for real. Still, it's disheartening to know that the adventure will most likely never truly be completed.
I'll do the next two, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
The level progression is painfully slow. In 8 years, averaging 35 to 40 sessions per year, so we play almost every week except during vacations, with 3-hour sessions, we've reached, oh my God.
Oh God, this
We've
would
reached level 6, close to level 7.
This would be a nightmare for me. This would be a living nightmare
No, dude,
for
even I
me.
would be pissed at this. Even I would be like, you are
I'd be
joking.
like, I'm trapped in purgatory right now.
No,
Holy
even I would be not okay with this.
fuck.
Um, this is because the DM insists on using a level progression table from D&D 3.5 instead of Pathfinder. In the 3.5 table, enemies with low CR stop awarding experience as you level up. The DM does this to prevent us from farming low-level enemies, which we've never done, nor would it make sense to do so under Pathfinder rules. The rewards are also scarce and fleeting. We constantly have less gold, including magic items, than we should for our level. Magic items rarely come our way, and when they do, they're often completely useless to us. This wouldn't be an issue if we weren't constantly being robbed, forced to pay bribes, or losing our gear. On top of that, all items are priced higher than the standard Pathfinder rules, and even services like hiring someone to cast a spell are significantly more expensive. At one point, after an endless dungeon and an exhausting battle with a BBEG, the DM forced us to continue exploring the dungeon. There, we encountered a sea hag, another difficult fight, remember, with no rest or resources after the BBEG, and after barely surviving the encounter in terrain clearly designed to favor her, she fled. We tracked her down and killed her in an underwater area where we found a magical weapon. A good reward for everything we'd gone through, right? Well, next to the weapon was a ghost that dealt an absurd amount of damage if you got close to it. After almost dying trying to retrieve the weapon, we left empty-handed and completely demoralized. Jesus Christ.
I I like even right off the bat, like eight damn 8 years, averaging 35 to 40 sessions per year with 3 hours. Those does be 3 hours at least. You're only level 6 after 8 years,
Yep.
almost 7. You don't get any magic items. Like, oh my God, this is like every horror story we've ever talked about, all culminated and combined into one like true final BBEG horror story. Holy frijoles, Batman. What are we talking about? Okay. Next section. The world is against us, and there are too many roles. Oh,
This is
no.
like your personal
It
hell.
is!
This is pretty awesome.
It's like I'm sent to my own
You
purgatory.
found your worst nightmare.
I was hit with like Darkseid's Omega Sanction, and now I'm gonna be stuck inside this world for eternity,
I was not expecting a
dying,
Dark Sides reference. That's fucking awesome.
dying and reliving, and everything just getting progressively worse until eventually it's just this.
Get me out of my own hell,
Oh
please.
God. The GM loves mundane challenges. Ugh. Like traveling from point A to point B without getting lost. I recall one journey that was unbearable because every day required 3 rolls to stay on track.
Holy
And
shit, like
every
above
night,
ground?
yes, and every night we'd be attacked by monsters or bandits. And he uses random events, but they're always negative and yield 0 reward. Critical failures are heavily penalized, while critical successes offer little to absolutely no advantage. For example, failing a climbing check might in fact break your leg. He doesn't allow the injuries to be healed by magic, by the way, leaving you with speed penalties and skill check disadvantages for several end-game days. A crit, on the other hand, however, only reduces the number of climbing rolls needed. Yay! On top of that, the GM loves overcomplicating things that aren't even interesting. Oh, you don't say. As an instance, we know that if we bring horses to and for the adventure, he will either 1, scare them off, 2, kill them outright, or 3, have them twist an ankle and be completely useless anyway. Once, we had to hunt giant badgers for a feast, but we couldn't damage them too much because they were needed to be cooked later. The logistical nightmare of transporting them from the forest to the village, a several days journey, by the way, with, of course, survival checks every step of the way, was just tedious and completely uninteresting. A constant sense.
I'll do this one. A
Yeah, by all
constant
means.
sense of impending doom. All encounters are, quote, deadly or, quote, hard, even in long dungeon with no rests. We once spent an entire year, oh my God, which 40 sessions, 3 hours each in a single dungeon where three PCs and five friendly NPCs died. In this dungeon, a stone minotaur posed riddles in a central room we had to pass through repeatedly, and one riddle was, according to Wikipedia, the hardest riddle in the world. The DM made it even harder by adding his own twists.
You mean impossible? Like what?
Failure meant fighting the Minotaur, which cost us more NPCs and resources. By the way, hiring NPCs costs loot and gold, and they take a share of the XP as well. Oh, oh no. Little respect for player characters. The DM loves mocking PCs, which can be fun sometimes, but it often crosses the line. Character deaths rarely serve a purpose. For instance, in the last session, a PC died in a skirmish due to a halberd crit. The DM didn't allow the player to have a final heroic moment or even let the party mourn the loss. It was just, quote, you're dead. I get it, realism and all, but if I wanted realism, I wouldn't play an epic fantasy TTRPG. Sometimes it's outright unfair. Once our cleric lit a candle to another god as a sign of respect, because the head of the local church forced him to, and he instantly lost his powers. A completely useless character.
I feel like I'm having
And
a
it
brain
and it
aneurysm
wasn't
right
even I
now.
know, it wasn't even a dark god. It was Pelor, god of light and justice. To get his powers back. Oh my god. Okay. To get his powers back, he needed a fifth level spell, which we couldn't access. We did find someone who would cast it for 500 gold, but the DM made us buy a 1,000 gold relic instead. The relic had a 5% chance to cast Wish, the only way to restore the cleric's powers, though we didn't know it was Wish, and a 5% chance to permanently turn the cleric into an eel with no hope of recovery. The DM found this hilarious. It was a daily use item, so I was looking at playing a useless character for many sessions. At that point, I considered leaving the game, but the dice miraculously landed on the 5% I needed really soon. On another occasion, he decided to mess with an NPC I cared about. Since I felt bad about how often characters died and that their legacies were lost, I decided my PC would take on an apprentice. Her main job was to document our story, so future characters would have all the information. The DM decided that the only available NPC was a little girl, which I thought was interesting for the story. I only had one condition. Under no circumstances should there be anything even remotely sexual involving the NPC or any other minor. A hard boundary for me, as it should be for any decent person. Well, the DM decided the NPC was actually a teenager with the appearance of a child. Oh, wonderful. Something the PCs wouldn't know, and started adding NPCs making advances toward her. As I said, zero respect for characters. I eventually got him to stop, but it bothers me that he deliberately pushed the one boundary I set.
Oh, that's the thing. That's what bothers you. That's the thing that finally, and you didn't even really cut it off fully. You didn't. You're still going. 8 years.
I'll let you finish it off, Adam, because you seem to be midway through a mental breakdown.
Okay.
Just remember all the things I do for you. It's just
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I got it. I can. I
I,
pull it
I,
together for the end. I yeah.
and you.
One player is a chronic cheater, of course. Again, why? Why
I have
not?
a headache, dude.
Why?
I literally
Why?
have a headache.
Why shouldn't we? Again, I told you this is the amalgamation of literally every horror story we've ever read
Oh,
before,
my
all
head.
coming together in one. We got it all, baby. This is the magnum opus of horror story. We got it all, baby. We got a
We got a
messed up
pedophile.
sex.
We
Yeah,
got a.
we got PDF files. We got sexual things that are messed up. We got cheaters. We got shitty DMs and bad player things. We got it all here. We got it all here. So one player is a chronic cheater. This player constantly uses hard to read dice, lies about rolls, and miscalculates modifiers in his favor, prepares spells on the fly, and oh, Oh, so much more. And we've confronted him about these things several times, but he just always denies it. And again, these are your friends? These people are your friends? What are you talking about, OP? He's exhausting, both in and out of game. But we're a close-knit group of friends. What's it? So I have to put up with him. Why? 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 Why do you have to put up with him? If everybody knows what he does, if everybody's aware, hell, why is the GM your friend too? Like, what are we
Friends
in
don't let friends do this to
at
themselves.
all? And friends don't do this to their friends, like actively. In conclusion, all these issues led to multiple interventions with the GM and a huge argument that almost ended the campaign.
Almost. It should have ended it.
It should have been done so long. Since then, things have improved slightly. Oh,
You're
wow,
still playing. I feel no sympathy for
wow,
you.
improved slightly. What? Okay, let me ask you a question. What does improved slightly mean? You know, if you're getting the shit kicked out of you every single day, you're at like literally getting your shit pressed in, your teeth kicked in, all of that, and it just what they stopped actively doing it, or maybe they instead they decided to do it like once every week. Is that? I mean, technically, it's better. Technically speaking, that is an improvement, right?
Oh,
That
dude,
it,
this
it
is like.
improved slightly. That doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't make
Also,
it
can I be
okay.
honest? A slight improvement means nothing to the wall of text we just read.
Literally,
No, no,
I've
continue though. Just keep. You gotta keep.
I've
It's
adjusted my mindset to treat the
no.
game like Call of Cthulhu,
God
where
damn
death
it.
is always a very real possibility. Why? Why are you adjusting your mindset? But I just can't reconnect with the campaign. You don't say! I wonder why. I still enjoy playing because these are my friends. Are they though? Are they though? And being with them is always fun. Is it? Is it though?
Not in this sense.
But the game feels like a chore. So, okay, again, I feel like there's so much contradiction here. It's blowing my mind. Like I can't even compute it. You say it's fun, but it feels like a chore. You say, things have improved, but you adjusted your mindset to treat the game better, but you just can't reconnect with it anyway. Like you have a player who serially cheats, who's addicted to cheating, and a GM who's just an asshole. Like
Okay.
I know it's because I'm completely burned out and that no D&D is better than bad D&D, but after so many years, leaving feels difficult. Plus, the GM is one of my best friends. I officiated his wedding and I love him dearly, though he disappoints me as a GM. Oh, that's nice. You're not angry or upset, OP, you're disappointed. Okay. Except for the cheater, the other players are also all very close friends. Oh, so you're not friends with the cheater. Okay. I don't want to hurt them by leaving, as it would deeply affect them. And this is one of my main ways of socializing with
Oh,
them.
oh, oh. All right, 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 all right. Just real quick, fuck you. Just sorry, sorry. Um, I feel
Oh
bad for you, but
God.
also I don't have any sympathy for you because you literally said it
Oh God.
right there. You said how to fix it, and it's called leaving. It's called leaving or confronting your DM and be like, "This doesn't work anymore. I'm done if we don't change this." The you're still playing. You don't find it fun. You are still playing. Find other ways to socialize with these fucking people. What is wrong with you?
Do I have a nosebleed right now? I feel like I should have I
I'm
have a
going
nosebleed.
like my brain is melting and I have a
Literally,
headache. Why have you done this to
I
me?
Jesus Christ.
I feel
For
bad because
content.
you care, obviously, but like this is like ridiculous.
Oh, this okay. Top voted comment down below. What you are describing is not playing a TTRPG. It's having an unfulfilling full-time job. Your GM is trash, and if it wasn't for your group, he wouldn't have an audience. Just leave. Next comment. Hopefully, this player realizes he's not really a player and more like a character in this book the GM wrote. There's no shame in just cutting yourself from that group. Doesn't mean you don't have to continue being friends with them. Thank you if you don't want to, but OP clearly isn't having fun anymore and only sticks around because of his buddies. OP responds, yeah, you summarized it pretty well.
Then leave. if the fact that your friend won't listen to you and won't take criticism, like you can you I and you and they I
Oh, I
help help
Sam, I
help
yeah,
help help
I don't know. Like
help help
this I feel like this
help.
might be the inherent biggest flaw maybe as a species, perhaps, just
No, this
shown
this
right
help.
here. Like in human species, like this, he clearly sees the problems, the
Yeah, he
issues.
doesn't do
He's
anything.
not unaware of them. It's not like he's asking like what's going on. He's very
Yeah.
aware of all the problems and the
Oh yeah.
issues and everything.
Heck
And
yeah.
yet he does absolutely seeming. I mean, I should say nothing. No, no.
No, he did
Again,
fuck all.
no. Here at the Arcane Archive, they've had discussion. They've had talks with the GM and the cheating player. Uh, they've had conversation. I would love to know how those conversations seemingly went. What was said, how
Uh,
how they decided, like where they landed on, because the fact that this cheating player is still here, you don't consider him a friend, and yet he's still around for some god awful who knows reason. And the fact that your best friend, you officiated his wedding. Oh, that's beautiful. That's such a beautiful thing. Your so-called best friend whose wedding you officiated treats you guys like this, does all of this shit, wants to permanently change one character's cleric into an eel potentially just to get back their powers because he forced their cleric character to respect another good god who was most likely an ally of their current god. What are we talking about right now? What even again, I swear I feel like I had a stroke, an aneurysm, and whatever other physical, like visceral physical reaction to anything really. I can't even I wish I could blot out the last 5 minutes, 10 to 5 minutes of my memory. I wish I had modified memory right now to forget this thing. This is literally the BBEG of horror stories. This is again the culmination of everything we have read so far in one horrendous eight. This is almost a decade, Sam. This is almost 10 years.
don't look at me like I didn't just listen to all that with you. I'm fully
This is almost
aware.
10 years of this man's life.
I am fully aware of what I just heard, and I do not feel good about it. And I don't really. The problem is I don't really have an answer either to what you're supposed like. You should just leave, like obviously. Like I know that's like the
Make a different campaign.
doesn't that doesn't seem to be
Why
the
don't you just take your so-called friends and just make a different campaign? Why? What are we doing? Why is this the only thing you could possibly come up with?
oh,
Oh God. Let's move on. We need to move on. We need to cleanse. We need to cleanse this filth. This God, it's in my body, Sam. I feel like it's just in my blood now.
no,
Ugh.
this is what happens.
The cringe is in me.
Well,
uh, uh,
I hope you're happy now. I
don't ask
hope
me
you're
that. I
happy
hope
now.
they're happy. This is for them. Uh,
I made this for you.
yeah. Let's move on.
That's terrible.
Let's let's
Like
let's
genuinely terrible.
let's move on.
Sure.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah, let's fucking yeah. Uh, I got the next one. I got community you spent 9 sessions building. It's gone. Sorry. Advice
Oh,
by
this is
meet
gonna be fun, I can
Meet
tell.
the Sea.
This is gonna be
This is a
funny.
lighthearted story. And
Oh, that's
so
good.
I'm my group's forever DM. Always have been because I'll be frank, I'm not super into the player side of the game. But one of my players wanted to
Interesting.
try DMing, and I was definitely feeling burned out, so we swapped. The game starts, and we are in a world with 4 kingdoms, brink of war, all the classic good stuff. As the game goes from level 1 to 5, we slowly discover a lot of the kingdoms are kicking people out, and a lot of people are nationless. There's a big bad coming, and if these people aren't part of a kingdom, they are all at risk. Suddenly, as one of our level 5 quest rewards, we are given a few options, and one of them is an island off the coast of one of those major kingdoms. It all clicked for me. I knew what the DM's hope was, and I was all for it. I accepted the island with the understanding it was mine and wouldn't be a part of this guy's kingdom, but he'd protect me from other invaders. Good deal. I collect the deed in my island and find there's an abandoned town in it, a good base of operation. Definitely seems like this was the plan the DM had for us, was to take over the island and make a nation, and I'm all for it. My notes are full of what buildings I have, the population, the NPCs in my city, training guards, and I'm super involved. And I'm even making sure to do this during downtime out of game, not not while questing. So I just ping the DM once a week saying, "Hey, during these 3 weeks, can I do this in the town? How much would that cost, etc." Just because I know not everyone is as invested in playing D&D Sims as I am. I love this. It's respectful.
Honestly,
Um, this
appreciate
carries
it.
on for almost 10 sessions, about 4 months of playing. We encountered the Lich Big Bad a few times, and they have conquered the nation furthest away from us and are moving forwards. Awesome. I'm making the last line of defense. Our nation will be the last. Totally think I predicted this, and I'm very excited for it. During the last session of my town, we are off on a quest seeking a dragging out for information when suddenly I get a message sent to me via a ring. I have a ring that lets an NPC message me from the town who I let run the day-to-day business. They say that someone in the town is acting really weird. I tell the others and ask them to come back with me. The dungeon can wait. Our home is in danger. We all return to the town, and a man has been captured. He has black, inky eyes under some sort of trance and kept saying how much the town is doomed. The vines below are poisoned. The earth will turn against it. Our druid does a nature roll, figures out this guy has buried something really bad in our town that will basically sink it into the earth. Fuck. I panic. I get people to go out and dig around the town, but the druid has a much better idea to get the ranger to basically retrace this guy's steps. We follow a path, find a few ogres defending a dig site, and after an intense battle we dig out the ground to find a dark seed. The druid is able to find the seed, that the seed drags things into the earth and was probably made by the lich. It would have destroyed the town. I was very glad that we saved the town, but I guess I needed to be. But I guess wait.
It's
Oh,
basically him
that
just,
was
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, that was intense. Glad we saved the town. Guess we need to be more on guard if we are messing with the Lich's plans. Suddenly, pop! The Lich appears just outside of our town. Oh, you found the seed. Digging it up let me teleport here and activate its effect. What? The Lich clicks his fingers and describes how my whole town is sucked into the earth and totally destroyed, and everyone inside dies. Can I roll to see if I can get there in time to save anyone at all? Could the druid morph the earth to make it a safe spot? Nope, Lich is too strong and can counter the spell. Everyone's gone, town's dead. I'll admit I then make a bad choice. I shouldn't have gotten upset or attached, but I said there's no way my character wouldn't try to save people and will die with the town. The DM stops the game and tells me I'm metagaming and I can go and get revenge instead. I wasn't really interested in that. I felt all my downtime efforts and all my character's goals were deleted, with nothing I could do to stop it, and would rather run a brand new character than try to salvage this one. DM tells me I'm ruining the story by committing suicide, and I don't need to, as he has a story plan and to stick with it. We end the game, and we step away, and we have yet to return. I'm not sure what to do. On the other hand, I get taking stuff to make me hate the bad guy, but I already did. I was running a generic hero who wanted to take down the Lich to save his town. I already had motivation. Another player suspects the DM got a little tired of my downtime activities, but I hope that's not the case. What would you do? Would you keep your character alive or make a fresh one? I'm not even sure I want to continue playing in this campaign at this point. I feel as if all my efforts have been for nothing when I assumed I was engaging exactly as the DM wanted. My opinion, I would not play again. If someone did this to me in a game, was engaging with my downtime stuff, talking to me outside the game about the things I was trying to do, and then just fucking took it all, that would be it for me. I would not play in that game anymore. It's not that I'd never play with them again, but that, for me, I need to step away. Because that is no, no.
That
Oh my
that
God. That is like if you were sitting across the table from me and you did that, that is teeth punching territory. And I'm angry, so that makes sense. But like that's fucked. Like that's not cool at all. So
nah.
you led them. to this dark seed. You gave plot hooks. You let them do these things and do these roles, and then you just, if they hadn't done anything, I could understand this happening. But they put in the effort and time to try to fix the problem, and you fucked them over anyway. What kind of fucking DM does that? That's
Yeah,
fucking awful.
that's the real clincher. That's the real kicker here. Like that the fact that because you have to question, right? Okay, the Lich made this seed. He seemingly set all this in motion anyway, and brought the guy there, sent the guy there. He buried the seed. There were ogres protecting it. Why why couldn't the Lich have just come here and done it on his own then if he could have the whole time? What do you mean by digging up the seed? That's what allowed him to teleport and activate its power. How does that make any sense? You just told them that if it stays there, it has the power to pull everything down inside anyway. Like, if left alone for too long. So then how can you say if not left alone, the Lich can just magically make it happen anyway? Why didn't he just do that then? Like it's an extra kick in the balls to basically be like, oh, we did everything that we could to stop it and save it, seemingly because you gave us an opportunity to do so. But I guess because we were able to complete or successfully do this thing faster than you thought, maybe you just decided to say F it and screw us over anyway.
That's
That's
the part
just
that bothers me.
that's just the word. Yeah, like again, and I get it too. I totally feel OP's crushingness of it, where he's just like, oh, yeah, you spent a decent amount of time and effort and energy into building this thing and making all this progress. And in just a single fell swoop, there's not even anything you can do to stop it. There's no rolls, there's no anything. The GM just takes it away because, like,
Yeah, like that's
there's like, and again, I get maybe from the GM's perspective, he's like, this is a way to really like, give some emotional moments where you lose something super important to you. It's like, yeah, but there's also a person who we spent real life time on it too. And like OP says, they're already motivated to stop the Lich anyway for their people.
yeah. You didn't like. You're not
You just
adding anything to the
you
story.
yeah, you just basically took away something. You basically made a lot of that player's efforts completely useless and a waste. They just seemingly wasted all that time. Now, unless you have some means of like giving it or bringing it back, it's like you just, yeah. And they couldn't even do anything about it. You completely destroyed their player agency. It wasn't based off of their choices or decisions. You just did it. There is no redemption really in that. There is no like logical, fair, reasonable, rational explanation for that choice. There just
No.
isn't. You got nothing, bro. You got nothing. You're an asshole. That is just inexorably, unquestionably, undisputingly effed. It's just effed.
So
Literally,
disappointing.
literally top voted comment here by pub pubitchery pubic history pubic history. I don't know. Maybe it's pubic history. Wow. I mean, everybody has different styles of GMing, but for me, this is a major F up on the GM side, and I would never do that like this. First of all, you invested a lot and grew attached to this place. For me, that means I shouldn't take it away lightly. Thank you. Now, threatening it can motivate you, which it did. Could even be a hard choice. If you leave now, the dragon will disappear and you won't get the info you wanted. Is your home really worth it? But you did make a choice, and you chose your home. Then you followed the clues, fought the ogres, found the threat, and neutralized it. Congratulations! You invested time, effort, and skills again, and should be rewarded for it, not punished.
Yeah.
By which I don't mean it should all be smooth sailing from here. The Lich can absolutely appear, fighting you for preventing his plan. The dark seed might poison or corrupt the person holding it, something along those lines. Hell, if you absolutely must feel like you're smarter than your players, you having dug up the seed can have been the plan all along. But to just proceed with the threat anyway, as if you did nothing to prevent it, can't imagine a better way to kill all motivation and investment in a player in an instant. Literally. I mean, if the player states his/her intent to have their character basically unalive him/herself immediately, you know you effed up. The only way forward I see here is to talk to your GM, listen to his or her slash her reasoning behind the decision, but also make your feelings clear. Maybe see if it's possible to retcon it to some degree, or at least make clear that this is not the way to go for you and that this should never happen again. Good luck.
That's literally like the I think the
Yeah, Mr. or Mrs. Pubic History. Honestly, my hat to you, my friend. That very
such a
well done.
wild sentence that you just made there, bud.
Like it's
It's
just
insane.
that, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the GM was thinking. Like I said, I don't maybe the GM was like annoyed or frustrated or over OP being so invested in their town building aspect or part that they just wanted to say like yeah and be petty about it. I don't know. I cannot for the life of me think of any again reasonable, logical, or rational explanation
No,
for them choosing to do this
there
here.
isn't one. There isn't one. It's
I
not.
just I can't possibly imagine like what the hell was the point? Like this is just soul crushing. Like literally. Like the commenter said, like pubic history said, you know, no faster way to instantly just destroy a player's investment, energy, and desire and interest in the game. No faster way.
Nope.
Just make all their efforts, all their time, all their investment worthless and mean nothing. It's like just, and for no reason other than just because you chose to. Not from their decision, not from a lack of whatever, because the GM was just like, yeah, no, this happens now. On top of the fact, trying to make it be like, yeah, you did this actually, because this was all part of the plan. You digging it up allowed me to do this. Like,
Yeah, if you then make it my fault as well, oh, I'd fucking lose my mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd knock this dude's teeth in most likely, like that.
Like, why let me do all that then?
I guess it's just, yeah, this is
You're gonna take it
disgusting.
away. Yeah. Like, if there's some way to get it back, sure.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, if you like,
What if he just like pocket
if
dimensions your shit?
well, I was gonna say, like let's say like Brainiac style, right? He shrinks it down, puts it in a little bottle or whatever, right? He takes your town and like yeah, puts it
He
in a pocket
Barovia's that
dimension or
motherfucker.
like yeah, he
He
just like
Barovia's it. It's gone now, but
yeah,
you could get back there.
yeah.
Like, you could save these people. They're not dead. He's just
No,
doing it
he
to
he
torture
just
you.
yeah, he took them. He took it from you.
That would be
And
different.
you can get it back because that at least shows you can reclaim it. It's
Yeah.
not just destroyed and gone and everybody's freaking decimated and you couldn't do anything. Like what's the point then?
That's the
What's the
part
point?
that pisses me off more than anything.
Like literally even the GM going like, "Oh yeah, you can't do anything because the lich is too strong." Why are we even fighting him
But let me try
then
it.
at all?
But let me try it. If he kills me, he kills me. Fuck it.
Like,
I hate that shit too. The whole like, oh, he's too
nah.
strong.
Then why are we fighting him? Why are
No,
we
dude.
fighting him?
What's the
Why are
point?
we able to beat him? Like why are we even playing the game then? If he's too strong to be contested or denied or fought, why are we even fighting? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like holy crapola, bro. All right. Moving on. Last story of the day. This one is titled It Doesn't Make Sense for Your Character to Be in This Game by Roxas Lightstock. Excuse me, Roxas Lightstalker. Collection of random things since this was a longer game. Group was a bunch of long-term friends. I was initially not invited to the campaign. Hmm. But since there was a game going on every day of the week and I was in none of them, I begged to join because I wanted to have some social life and would not be allowed to join as a spectator because, again, there's a game every day of the week and I wasn't allowed in those either, even if I agreed to stay muted just to be there. Okay. DM would regularly go on rants about how their game was therapy. They have never taken any kind of classes on psychology and were just starting college. And that the game showed true morality. Uh-oh. It was also regularly mentioned that to be the best person possible, you must exclusively be as selfish as possible. I feel like, I mean, don't get me wrong, a little bit of selfishness is not a bad thing at all. Like, again, you do have to kind of, I think, always put yourself first to a certain extent, a certain way, in terms of like, you have to take care of yourself before you can really take care of anybody else. Like if you can't even take care of yourself, how could you possibly take care of anybody else? Like, if you're all messed up, I don't really see how you could really help anybody else. But being exclusively as selfish as possible, that I feel like that is in direct contention with being the best person you can be for, yourself as well as your community and people and stuff. Like kind of feels a little hypocritical or contradictory more so. All the sessions were 7 hours long. Okay. And every player did their actions separately? What's happening? The party rarely ever were in the same places. The GM would also get mad at players for not paying attention during all of this. So the expectation is that you'd sit around doing nothing for 6 hours taking notes. Unless, of course, you were me. Then everyone in the party is allowed to teleport to be there and take actions. But that's only because, I was regularly told the GM refused to write things for my character to do. And you still played? Why? PvP was a regular occurrence, and there was only one combat encounter every 3 months outside of that. Also, about combat, every player would role play out their turns of them going Super Saiyan and powering up, so the average round of combat was 2 hours long. I played as a fighter, so I would just walk up and attack, taking at most 3 minutes. NPCs regularly refuse to talk to my character because it makes sense since the other party members have ties to these characters. As you can probably assume, it was deemed to be my fault for not making connections to the NPCs. The GM would regularly take in real life traumas of people and threaten to TPK the party if they didn't deal with them. As previously mentioned, there was never any combats or stakes to anything because of that, so this was the only threat in the campaign. What are we? There was a lot of homebrew, all of which I would be yelled at for asking questions about and never got to use. Also note, I didn't get yelled at for asking questions. I got yelled at because the GM was having a bad day before I joined the voice call. I think the aneurysm's back. I think the stroke aneurysm is back. The GM would also yell at players for saying anything about their story was bad because their writing specifically was beyond criticism since they put time into it. They would also yell at other DMs if they didn't perfectly follow their lore in other games or altered it to fit their world. Since I wrote so much for my character in that game, I started doing solo games. Trying out solo RP has been the biggest gain out of this since I had already got experience doing so. Solo RP. The GM eventually made a proposition of something I was allowed to do. Not for my character, just a random bit of lore. I don't know where instead of being as selfish as possible, I could instead be as exploitable as possible. I also asked if for my own mental health, just be told out of game that it was okay to not be downright self-deleting about it. The GM affirmed that it was a binary choice and that I had to pick one way or the other. The GM kicked me from a campaign they weren't even in. They peer pressured the GM with another person. Said other person was their favorite child. The campaign was based on time travel and only that player had control of it. On top of that, they got extra solos and would regularly be told plot points privately that the entire party was affected by. After all this, I stopped showing up to sessions, as I obviously wasn't invited, or I obviously wasn't wanted. When were you ever wanted? There was zero attempt to ever contact me, but I did get an angry message from favorite child saying I wasn't too exhausting to be around. A bit later, I wanted to give them a shot since they were the only in real life friends I had. We had met up in person once since COVID. I was also only invited because someone needed an excuse as to why they brought something to their parents. Funnily enough, they made plans to hang out in person 3 times in the same week shortly after I left. After I was sufficiently forgotten, I tried messaging the GM and asked if they could start treating me as an equal. They gave me an actual list of demands if I wanted to be back in the friend group. I told them I have plenty of other friends who treat me way better. They then said I was acting childish by bragging so much and blocked me.
Well, we've lost him. Um, I feel bad because I totally picked that one, but he picked a terrible one for us to read together, so I don't feel too bad. Um, you okay there, bud? Oh, he can't hear me. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to
How
the
you?
Arcane Archive.
Okay.
We've got so many. What were we talking about? Whew. Okay. Okay. So I've like I will say right off the bat, I'm gonna be honest, like, and this isn't even like this is a really genuine statement, and it's not meant to be insulting or anything like that. But I like OP. Do you maybe have some sort of neurodivergence of some kind? Like I like because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, and that's also coming from someone who is also neurodivergent. But I'm getting the vibe like that there's something's not quite right or something. I don't know. Like, cause that like all of this, like that, or you might be also suffering from like one of the most extreme cases of loneliness and desperation I've ever seen before. And again, I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I'm not saying this in like a derogatory or insulting way. I'm literally like asking because like that like there was no doubt in anybody's mind right off jump you were never wanted here. You literally said it yourself that you were never invited to any of these things. You never even met these people before in real life. Like, but you say they were long-term friends and you were initially not invited to the campaign. Like, but you begged to join. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Either OP, either you're lying about all of this to make yourself look better in some way, shape, or form. Like this is all a complete fabrication for maybe like karma points on Reddit or something, or there's something seriously like wrong going on here. This right here is
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
this is an enigma like wrapped in a conundrum, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a fucking Googleplex. I don't know. Like this, like what do you think about this one, Sammy boy? You picked this one here.
Oh yeah, I
This
picked, and it
this is
just so
yours.
happened.
This
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
yours.
I just thought it was really funny how long it took this person to realize that they were not wanted. Um, I also want to mention that if you don't want someone at your table, just tell them that because this is really pathetic on both sides. Sticking with this is pathetic, but also
Yeah,
doing this is
like
pathetic.
I'm kind of
And
legitimately worried about OP a little bit. I'm
a little,
like
yeah,
this
right? Like
this
there's
this
some bits where you're
this is like are like again. I'm like, are you all right? Are you okay?
did someone like hurt you?
Like that's what I'm saying.
Lock you in a
Because
basement somewhere?
you
Because that's the
literally
only reason
literally
I'd
like
be
you
playing
you're
this.
literally saying like, oh, I've got plenty of friends that treat me way better. Do you though? Are
Well,
you
so if you have
sure?
friends that treat you better, then those are your friends, and these people aren't.
Yeah, like
Would
why
be
are you trying so hard to be with this group here who clearly has almost what seems like disdain, quite frankly, for you? Like it makes no sense, OP. Like
there is
again,
no
some
love lost for these people and you specifically.
I'm saying the math ain't mathin', my dude. Like it just isn't mathin'. Like this right here, it just ain't mathin', my man. Like you can't say I have plenty. Like again, it sounds to me like that was just like I would like to know how old you are. Honestly, I'd like to know how old everybody here is because this seems like some legit like 14, 15-year-old drama shit going on here where like there's a kid on the outside who's really lonely and kind of a social pariah and an exile and like wants to desperately join up with like this group of dudes who are just kind of assholes and they just take advantage of him because he's so desperate and willing to people please and be cool with this is really sad, honestly. It's just kind of it's like, and again, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be mean, but OP, like I feel sad. Like I feel sad reading this. But I also like Sammy kind of said, I also can't really feel a lot of empathy for you because like it was so clear right off the bat that they did not want like I can't really have sympathy for a person who like sees lava, boiling lava, and decides to take a dip in it anyway. Like I'm like because at that point it's just says like you I know you know what you were doing or getting into. Like I know you know that there was no way this was gonna end well. Like you call them your friends, but how? Where are your friends? I see no friends here. I don't see one single solitary aspect or element of what a friend is. Sam, let me ask you: do people not know what the word friend means anymore?
No, that's
Have they
there's
changed
there's
the
an
definition of the word friend
Adam,
somewhere?
I've wanted to talk about this for a long time. There is a social epidemic in this country amongst a certain age range of people, and it's not understanding one, what it means to be a decent human being, and two, not being able to tell if the people around you genuinely care about you. And I have not figured out where it started because there are people older than me that suffer from this, and there are people that are younger than
Yeah.
me that suffer from this. I do not understand what happened. I know it has something to do with social media.
Definitely didn't
Just
help. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's social media, but I mean,
Well, no,
I feel
I
like this
think the
particular
internet and social
epidemic,
media, I think it allows people to just
100% contributes like
to
a
just
ton.
I mean these people always existed,
That's
obviously.
what I'm saying. Like, I think this has
But
been an epidemic that's existed since
yeah.
human conception, like it's since the
Yeah,
dawn of time for humanity.
yeah, I
But
guess.
it has been, I think, exceedingly exacerbated with social media and the internet and everything too. Like for
Well,
sure.
the more people you bring together, the more assholes you bring together. So it's just a
But
math
it's
game.
also a superficial way of bringing. It's not a real way of bringing people together. It's not real connection.
It can be.
I mean, it's supposed to be a almost like a leeway, right? It's supposed to be an entryway to real connection.
Mhm.
But the real connection has to come from actually connecting with people, not just superficially doing so. And
Yeah.
that's the only thing that people use social media and the internet for really nowadays. It's just superficial interaction and connection. Like you're not really connecting with people anymore. And like that's like with this, it's like again, it seems like people's definition or understanding of what a friend or a partner or family is like, what are we talking about? Like you know what? I'll even look up the literal definition of the word. Uh
Google, what is friend?
Friendship. Define. Friendship is a noun. The emotions or conduct of friends, the state of being friends, a relationship between friends. So, what is a friend then? Let's define friend. A person who knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. A member, well, we don't want to tell that. That's not it. So, yeah, basically, a person who is not an enemy or who is on the same side. A person who acts as a supporter of a cause, organization, or country by giving financial or other help. Sure. Uh,
I like this. What defines someone as a friend? One attached to another by affection or esteem.
yeah. And so, with those definitions being the case, none of that is present here. There is none of those elements are present here in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. In fact, to the contrary, I believe that a number of elements presented here would constitute these people as being enemies. As a matter of fact, um, so I don't really understand why people feel like. Again, I understand feeling lonely, right? I get that 100%. Like there's a huge epidemic of loneliness, especially in, men, I think these days as well, but with women as well. But like being lonely, you get desperate, you know, for some kind of connection and acceptance and whatnot. But like, and even in some cases, it obviously drives people to like join terrible causes, you know, like really racist, messed up organizations and other things who, at least to what they do though, is they make you feel welcome. They make you feel as part of the group and the community. And then they, you know, they twist up your morals and your values and your perceptions on things as a result of that, because that's what you have to do to join. But at least they do make you feel like you're really welcome and accepted. Here, they don't even do that. They don't make them accept it or feel welcome. In fact, apparently, by OP's own admission, they still continue to ice him out, to literally disregard and even like degrade them. And yet they still want to say that they're long-term friends and want to be a part of the group. But they're like, I don't get it, Sam. I don't even get it. I don't understand. Because
Rough
again, if
stuff,
you
homie.
like,
This is rough. This is like the human
if
condition surmised in a TTRPG game in the worst possible way.
well, the
Um,
irony of it is that the like it is like TTRPGs are have a weird way of kind of bringing that out in people in unexpected ways or unexpected moments. And that's kind of, I guess, one of the reasons why we love these things, but also one of the reasons why they can be like this. Like they can really have the potential to make you take a good hard look at yourself, at others, at just, you know, the current human state, the state of humanity, what it means to be human sometimes. It's weird. Um, and yeah, these last couple ones are just sad. Like it's just like, wow. OP, I hope you legitimately have found, you know, I legitimately hope that you do have friends that treat you better than this. I hope that you were telling the truth about that. And I hope that if that's the case, you should really maybe start focusing on those friends rather than these creatures that you for some reason try to deem as your friends without any actual evidence or reason to. Um, but I hope you're having a better time than you have here, because this was kind of heartbreaking in a multitude of ways. Um, Oh, well, that's lovely. OP continues and says, I'm very susceptible to abuse because of my terrible family. So just feel for the gaslighting. There's a constant promise of eventually you'll get an arc for your character, but after 2 years uh in real life and meeting actually supportive people, I realized how crap they were. Why even insist being part of the table then? One person responds. OP responds, not having other friends at the time. It was basically that or be alone completely.
oh wow. Okay. Oh boy.
Wow, continuing on, OP also says, you know, kind of the perks of like happening back then or what happened was I don't actually remember any of this. It's just what was written in my memory journal. Gives a very optimistic look on things, though do
Oh,
have the existential dread that I might shatter and effectively experience identity death for the 20th time, according to my notes. Life seems pretty nice, though.
so this person has issues though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it seemed pretty clear that they did. Like I said, I wasn't even trying to be like insulting or ask. Like it wasn't sarcastic. I was legitimately
Worried?
feeling, and yeah, like I was legitimately concerned and feeling. It's like it seemed like they had some kind of legitimate mental thing going on. It's the only explanation for what's happening. Like that, like
Hmm.
like there's yeah the
Hmm. Fuck's sake. That's good Lord. People need help.
badly. They need help badly, and yet they come to Reddit and 4chan and places like this on the internet rather than actually trying to find maybe some legitimate
Help?
assistance and help. Yeah. And you know what? You know, not all the time they can, right? Especially in our country where any kind of legitimate help usually costs you an arm and a leg to even try. Depending, or you know, hopefully if you can get certain like, you know, into certain programs or things like that, maybe that can help. But yeah, this is just sad. This is just kind of a sad thing. And I guess with that, though, we're going to leave it on that sad note, everybody. Um, you guys stuck with us this long. Thank you very much. Leave down in the comments below some of your thoughts on this. I mean, this is a hell of an emotional roller coaster here. I did not expect it to get this intense, quite frankly. Um, but thank you guys for those of us who stuck around. We hope that you at least got something out of this video here, whether it was some enjoyment at the beginning, some mutual shared trauma bonding and rage bonding moments, and some, maybe a little bit more existential or, in-depth introspective thoughts on the human condition. Um, but thank you guys as always. Be sure to like and comment down below, subscribe and share the channel. And, as always, we'll be sure to catch y'all next time when we dive back down into the archive.